All right. A little late. Sorry about that. Welcome into the High Noon Rant. I'm Pugs Moran. We do this every day here on the RadioMisfits.com. Well, we do it every day on Radio Misfits, but we also do it every day now from the Radio Misfits Dallas location. I told you, you guys can't be mad at me. I've been telling you for weeks. I'm like, look, that's why we changed the name from the High Noon Rant to the Rant. It's going to happen every day somewhere around this time. Today we had a situation where we had other shows that we're recording here. So, this show doesn't make any money. This show takes zero priority around here. None of the other shows make any money either, but they have the promise of being commercially successful in the near future. So, that's why that stuff gets done. I do apologize, though. We will be continuing to do the show. I hope nobody panicked. We've been doing this show every day for 3 years. It is my life's blood. I love doing it. It is a free-form style of talk radio that isn't beholden to any of the rules. I call it a stream of consciousness because essentially that's what I'm doing. I wake up early. I put together all the day's headlines, current events, topics, whatever it is that people are talking about. And I just rant on them. No breaks, no stops, no nothing. Just me talking about the world. As I say, we've been doing it now for over 3 years. Not over 3 years, just about 3 years coming up. I want to get to 3 years. I really do. I want to be able to say that I stuck with it for 3 years because I don't want anyone to ever say, well, you just didn't give it time. Because I've been involved in a number of these sorts of projects that I just don't think we gave time to. Who knows? Any minute now, this show could pop. I do appreciate all of you lovely folks who have been along for this ride for the past 3 years. Let's say hi to some of our people in the chat room. Jen is saying, happy birthday tomorrow, Pugs. Yeah, it's going to be fun. I got my kid this weekend. I don't think we're going to do anything. He has already told me, here's my present. I'll watch whatever you want to make me want to watch. And I'm like, that's all I want. He did not say that he wouldn't bitch and moan about it, but I'll get that ironed out. We'll have some serious negotiations on the car ride today. I'm going to pick him up, so we're going to have a fun weekend. What else do I need to tell you about? What else is going on? Did I tell you we should tell you about where we're doing the show from today. So every day we've been doing the show from now the permanent home of Radio Misfits Dallas is here at the E-Gallery on Dragon Street in the fabulous design district of Dallas. Oh, we had people come through here yesterday. You should have seen the hubbub. We were showing off and we were showing out. That's what we did yesterday. Today's kind of a slow day around here, although there were some recordings that were being done in the morning. So again, that's the reason for us being late. Every day, I told you I'd give you a different set, I don't know. I haven't settled on what the noon rant, the noonish rant, their set is going to be. Today, we're in the bar area, ladies and gentlemen. This is the bar area. Don't have any alcohol out here yet because we don't have a party, but I'm doing the show from a bar. This is don't know if you can hear that. That's a bar. Behind me is a photo that tells you this is the bar. So there you go. Today, the show is from the bar. First day, we showcased some of Evie Artist stuff. We did a very nice Evie Artist backdrop. Second day was outside the tomb room in front of the big tomb doors. Second day, inside the tomb room, the cavern of darkness, because there was that big scary statue. And today, here we are. We are here in the E-Gallery bar area. Didn't want to do it here. Wanted to do it from the graffiti room. We'll do the graffiti room on Monday for our more urban targeted shows. I don't know. I'm stream of consciousness. I'm just talking. Thank you very much for the early birthday wishes, Jen. That's very nice. Tomorrow is my birthday. Tomorrow we're very excited. I'm very excited. Birthdays don't really mean that much to me. You get to a certain age and it's like you stop celebrating birthdays. Like now it's it's no longer like I'm this many. Now it's like a countdown. Now I got this many left. It's not fun for anybody. But like I said, I'll be spending it with my kid. Let's see here. Jen, we got a new Jenna in here. Welcome to the party. Was that an old Jen with a new name? I'm not sure. What are the kids if they don't bitch and moan? That's right, Jen. Frankie's here. Hi, Frankie. Hi, Leslie. Leslie also saying happy birthday. Thank you, folks. I do appreciate that. Not sure about how I make my son. Is that a Saturday night thing? Is that an actual on my birthday night I make him watch the entire Godfather trilogy? Because that's the plan. That's what I think we're going for. I still don't think he's ready for Dr. Strangelove. That's the movie I really want to watch with my kid, but I don't think he's ready. I don't think he like really grasps an understanding of what the Cold War was and you know, how this satire is just the most brilliant thing. So I think we're going to do Godfather. Why not? Peter's here. Hi, Peter. Thank you so much for saying hello. Let's see here. Jen says, I've been around back in the old days, but I'm back. That's what we love to hear. That is the greatest birthday present this old boy could ever want. Someone new added to the party. We gather here every day, Jen. Every day, and we talk about news. And you know what we do, Jen? Just because, you know, maybe you haven't been around much. We don't talk politics in the news. I hate politics. I hate talking politics. Jen, just so you know, I don't care if you're right. I don't care if you're left. Me personally, I'm someone who just kind of floats around in the middle and picks the issues as they come. And I go, you know what? Here's what a decent person might think about this issue. That's where I am. So we will get into all the current events, but we tend to lean harder on pop culture stuff. And we got a lot of pop culture stuff that we'll get into today. But also, you know, RNC is going on. So, you know, I'm going to talk about that. Oh, I'm a little hot. You might notice not as buttoned up as I usually am. I typically have my top button buttoned. I am a top button guy. I like it. Today, just a little warm in here. It's warmer than usual. I don't understand it. All right, how does the show play out? It's 4 quarters. I give you 4 different segments, and again, all performed in a stream of consciousness, all done with a bipartisan view of how screwed up everything is in this world. First quarter is something we call Antecedently on This Day. That's a look back at this day in history. We try and get an understanding of what this day has represented in the past. And then we're like, okay, so this is maybe what we can expect. Quarter 2, those are birthdays. That's the second segment. You know what those are. People having birthdays. Are they cool or not? We talk about them. Born on this day is self-explanatory. Deaths require, that's the third quarter, deaths require a bit of an explanation. We take people who died on this day throughout history and we decide, where do they go? They go to heaven or they go to hell? That's the deaths. Those are the first 3 quarters of the show. Now, after those 3 quarters, we get into the meat and potatoes. That's the hot topics, current events, and headlines. So if you're with me, let's get started. But first, it does need to be mentioned that this show has run and has trottled along. Trottled, is that a word? Could be. Stream of consciousness. Sometimes when I'm doing a stream of consciousness, I invent new words, like trottled. This show has trottled along. You know what it means. It hasn't meant anything ever before this moment, but you knew exactly what I meant. Inventing words. Trottled along for 3 years, and it's all due to your condolences? Ugh. Oh, by the way, I gotta tell you. So, like, condolences, right? Can we just talk about this for a moment? I'm mad at my mom. I mean, I can't be really mad at my mom because it's my birthday and she loves me more than anybody, but kind of mad at my mom. Somebody significant from our life has passed away, and I had no idea. I had to learn about it on Facebook. My mom is such an old warhorse. She doesn't nothing like, she's just rock solid. Her best friend passed away. I got to learn about it on Facebook. Like, not just her best friend of the last, 5 years, like her best friend my whole life. Someone who I lovingly referred to as Aunt. I don't even know about it. I got to see it on Facebook. You're on my shit list, Mom. Although not really, because thank you. It's my birthday. Thank you for life and all of that. Yeah. She didn't want to bring it up. She's like, I don't want to bring it up. I don't want to bum you out. I want our phone conversations to be light, except for when they aren't light, when they have to be heavy. Well, I didn't know that. I would have been way more, I don't know, kind to my mom. But then, by the way, it's like a month old, like a month ago. Like, yeah, well. All right. Anyway, the show runs on your tips. So if you want to help out the show and help us keep going, we do have an amount of money that we need to make each and every month. We haven't made it the last 3 months, but boy, oh boy, for the first 2.5 years, we were crushing it. Help out the show with a tip if you can. All right, let's get started. It is the High Noon Rant, not the High Noon Rant. It's not called the High Noon Rant anymore. It's called the Rant. It is the Rant with me, Pugs Moran, here on the RadioMisfits.com network and podcast platform. It is July the 19th. There are 201 days gone in this year. 201. That means 165. How does that math work out? Because of leap year. It's because of leap year. I know we have 365 days a year until leap year. So that's why everything is all screwed up. Let's get into quarter one. We call it antecedently on this day. It's just basically a look back at history. Here we go. Things that have occurred on this day in history that I feel I can rant on for a few minutes. On this day in 1845, the Great New York City Fire, ladies and gentlemen. The Great New York City Fire. We're going to do this again. I tell you this all the time. I come from Chicago. One of the things that we identify ourselves with is we're the city that burned down. No, turns out every freaking city in America has burned down. Every city has a great fire, and many of them far worse than the one that took Chicago. Looking at you, Atlanta. I mean, but they don't get the recognition that we get. Like Chicago's we got sports teams named the Fire. We've got this building that survived the fire that is it's ancient Chicago. I don't get it. New York City had a fire on this day. Every city has a fire. I guess when everything was made with wood and half the population was drunk 20 hours a day. That's how I imagine the 1840s. Antecedently on this day in 1845, the Great New York Fire. Antecedently on this day in 1967, Piedmont Airlines Flight 22 and a Boeing 727. Oh, no, wait. A Piedmont Airlines Boeing 727 and a twin-engine Cessna collide over Hendersonville, North Carolina. Now, I don't talk about airplane crashes. I used to do it a lot. I don't do it anymore. But this one is kind of a big one if you're a conspiracy theory weirdo. Yeah, I welcome conspiracy theory weirdos into the show. You guys are fun. I mean, I don't respect your mind or the way, you use logic, but you're fun. You're still fun. So this is a big conspiracy because one of the people killed on this plane, this passenger plane that this Cessna slammed into over North Carolina, one of the people was it William Westmoreland? And we talk about, or was it Robert McFarland? I think it was Robert McFarland. It was one of these evil Vietnam architects. It was like his right-hand man who was killed in the plane crash. And everybody said it was because of either anti-war or he was going to scale back the war or whatever. I don't know. But this is one of them conspiracy theories. Piedmont Airlines Flight 22. Look it up. Antecedently on this day in 1969, we mentioned this yesterday. I guess it happened before midnight, after midnight. But it was on this day that the morning newspapers all across this land spoke for the first time into the American vocabulary, Chappaquiddick. Chappaquiddick happened on this day. This is the day. I talked about it yesterday. I don't need to rehash it. But as an Irish Catholic growing up in a family that basically exalted the Kennedys as being the perfect American family, royalty, all of that, aspirational, if you will. When I learned about Chappaquiddick as a young man, I was like, oh, that was all bullshit. So they're bad people too. Because this is a decision. Ted Kennedy, for those of you who don't know, I believe he was a senator at the time, or maybe a young congressman, not sure. He was on his way up. He would go on to be the Lion of the Senate. That's what they call him. But Ted Kennedy, early in his career, was out screwing around on his wife with some young teacher, and they got into a car accident on a bridge, and the car went into the water. And Ted Kennedy, instead of saving Mary Jo Kopechne, he just ran and tried to cover it up like he wasn't even there. In that moment, he was given a choice to be a human being or be a fucking monster. And guess what he chose? So there you go, all you Kennedy apologists out there. I do like JFK, though. I like what he stood for. I like his whole messaging. I also like RFK. I don't know, look, I'm never going to be like completely anti-Kennedy, but Ted Kennedy exposed himself in that moment. On this day, antecedently in the year 1989, United Airlines Flight 232 crashes in Sioux City, Iowa. Here's one for Jeff Ballard. Jeff Ballard and me, I don't do plane crashes. I know you're saying, Pugs, why the hell are you doing plane crashes today? Because there were two interesting ones. The Piedmont one is a conspiracy theory flight. This one, the United Airlines Sioux City, this one is important to me because I'll never forget. Oh my God, talk about bringing back memories. It was the day before my birthday. We were going to a party. It was 1989, so I was 19 years old, about to be 20. Sorry, I'm thirsty. And I was in the living room of Mike Chahara and watching TV with his dad. It was me. I'm just going to throw out some names. It may have been, well, at 20, I was going to say it may have been KB Artist. But no, he wasn't. He was off doing art school stuff, I think. It was probably me, a guy named Kurt, and a guy named Jim, and we were waiting on Mike because we were going out. And it was the night before my birthday. And we're sitting in the living room and we're watching the ABC News or whatever. We're watching something. And I remember Peter Jennings like broke in, and they had video of this plane crash. I remember this vividly, sitting there watching this plane crash. We'd never seen a plane crash before. This plane crashed, the Sioux City, Iowa plane crashed on landing. It had hydraulic problems where the gears weren't coming down. And I guess there was a period of time where they were circling and they knew they were going to have to try and attempt a landing at some point. And the damn thing just comes in for a landing and just explodes. And they're just showing it on TV. They're like, hey, check out this cool ass video. It's 1989. We don't have cool ass video. Here's some for you though. Man, ingrained in my brain, sitting there watching that with Mike's dad. Jeez. Ugh. All right, moving on. Antecedently on this day, 1989, United Airlines Flight 232 crashes in Sioux City, Iowa. Go check that out on YouTube. I'm serious. It's not, you know what? Don't. You don't need that in your life. All right, moving on. Q2, they say it's their birthday. I have no idea of knowing if it's truly their birthday, but they claim it is. Born on this day in 1921. Reverend Harold Camping. Do you remember this guy? Do you remember who Harold Camping is? Harold Camping was an evangelical reverend who he kept predicting that the world was going to end. Remember this guy? He did it in the 90s, and then like 10 years later, he did it. It took up steam in the 2000s, 2011 or something, I think. I don't know. It took up steam because this crazy con man who was duping decent, innocent people who just, wanted to have some sort of faith in their life. This guy had built a radio empire of like Christian, evangelical, crazy, stupid stuff. And the way that he built this empire was because he kept preaching about the apocalypse and all that stuff. And then, of course, there was the big countdown, and here's the day that crazy preacher says the world's going to end, and it didn't end. And then he receded into the shadows and never said anything about it, and then his entire empire crumbled. Because all of the people, the flock, the people that he had, did they wise up? I don't know. But yeah, Harold Camping, he born on this day. He's in hell. Well, this isn't the anniversary of his death, but we're going to put him in hell. But today is his birthday, so screw you. Good people of faith. Good, maybe slightly naive. I don't know. And they got hate in their heart. Well, don't extrapolate that. Some do. Everybody has hate in their heart. There's bad people everywhere. Stop acting like it's just Christians. But he's a terrible example of somebody who is willing to tell people what they want to hear in exchange for, a little cash option. Born on this day, another birthday. How about Bernie Ledden? We got two here. Actually, we'll do these two. We got an eagle and a queen, huh? Bernie Ledden, born on this day in 1947. Bernie Ledden is basically the glue. Is he dead? Well, let's see. No, he's still alive. He was born on this day in 1947. He's like the glue of the Eagles. That dude plays every instrument. He's like one of the best. First of all, he's a member of the Eagles, but he's also recognized as one of the great banjo players of all time. Banjo Bernie Ledden. Born on this day in 1947. All right, that's the eagle. Now for the queen, Brian May. It's Brian May's birthday. He's the second most famous guy in Queen. Brian May, here's what it says in his description, which is really funny. Brian May, English singer-songwriter, guitarist, producer, and astrophysicist. What? I'd never heard that about Brian May. Brian May is an astrophysicist? Get out of here. What a Wikipedia. All right, moving on. Happy birthday, born on this day in 1961, to one of my favorite comedians. Here's what I'll say about this comedian. Actually, we got two of them here, born the same day. No, 1961 for this one and then 68 for the other. So these are two New York comedians who were regulars on the old Pugs and Kelly show. We got to know them pretty well. We had a really great Well, first of all, the first thing that we did was we established contact with the improv. So we were the improv here in Dallas. We were their best friend. We didn't care. Whoever it was you had coming in this week, you just bring them by. And if they were good, we had fun with them and they became friends. And that's how the ones that we really connected with were the ones that came to us through the Opie and Anthony show. That was because Kelly and I had become friends with Opie. And so when people would tour through town, Opie would be like, you got to do that show. So we established a really good in with specifically the New York comedy scene of the era and the Comedy Cellar scene. The Comedy Cellar was the club in New York. That's Louis C.K., Bill Burr, Jim Florentine, Jim Norton, and our birthday girl, certainly, Lisa Lampanelli. Lisa Lampanelli is a pig of a woman, and I can say that because that's how she describes herself. She is hysterically funny in real life. In real life, hanging out with birthday girl Lisa Lampanelli, you will laugh, your stomach will hurt. She's just one of the, it's almost like a drag queen. Like, I keep thinking, I'm like, this, she's like playing this like she's a drag queen, but she's an actual woman. Lisa Lampanelli, hysterical. Her stand-up comedy is not exactly what I love, but that's why I'm drawing this distinction. As a person, she's awesome. Her comedy is a little bit too, I don't know, piggish. I don't know. I don't know. But Lisa Lampanelli is an awesome chick. She's cool. Born on this day in 1961. Born on this day in 1968. Jimmy Norton. Jimmy Norton used to be a really good friend of our show and of me, and not close. Jim Norton has a very interesting, lifestyle, and just he's. I always thought he was a good guy. I have to tell you, I understand he's not such a good guy anymore, and I don't know. That is not through my own experiences. I haven't seen him in 10 years. That's not true. He played Chicago. I saw him. I hooked up with him in Chicago a couple of years ago. Okay, but still, Jim Norton's having a birthday. I don't know what to say about Jim. I like Jim. Jim's comedy. Jim is the best sniper in the history of radio. What is a sniper? A sniper is typically the third man on a two-man team whose job it is to just sit there and have one-liners that kill. All right? Artie Kennedy. That's my friend Artie. Artie Lang was a sniper. He wasn't as good as Norton. Sorry, he just wasn't. Jackie the Joke Man was a sniper. He wasn't as good as Norton. Who in this town? I'm trying to think if there's a good example. Gordon Keith. Oh my God, Gordon Keith. Gordon Keith is as good. Gordon Keith is as good at being a sniper as Jim Norton was. Anyway, Jim Norton was terrific on the radio. I wasn't a big fan of his stand-up comedy. Cringy, but almost too much cringy, like not enough. Like, oh, you are a dirtbag. It's, ugh. Anyway, happy birthday, Jim Norton. Born on this day in 1968. I hope you're well. Born on this day in 1971, this guy, if anything happens to that Voldemort Zelensky, the guy who's in charge over there in Ukraine, Zelensky, anything ever happens to him, our birthday boy here, he's next. He is next in line. Mayor of Kiev, Vitaly Klitschko, celebrating a birthday. Remember that dude? Remember the Klitschko brothers? They were like two badass heavyweight boxers, and now one of them's like the mayor of Kiev. And in the early days of the war, he was out there on the front lines, like, I'm telling you, that dude, Vitaly Klitschko, he's a legit badass. Born on this day in 1971, Vitaly Klitschko. Born on this day in 1976, Bent Dick Cumbersnatch. Let's call him that, Bent Dick Cumbersnatch. See, you know who I'm talking about. I'm talking about Benedict Cumberbatch, not Benedict Cumbersnatch. Whatever. I like Benedict Cumbersnatch better. That's a porn name. There you go. Get on it, Hollywood porn industry. Benedict Cumbersnatch. That's my new porn name. All right. He was born on this day. He was born on this day in 1976. He's tremendous. He's like one of my favorite. I think he's the best Marvel character. Sorry. Well, what are you talking about? Better than Iron Man? Yeah, Doctor Strange is cool. Doctor Strange is funny. Doctor Strange isn't putting up with anybody's bullshit. Doctor Strange is smarter than everybody else. Maybe not everybody else, but most of the time, he's like the smart guy. I like Doctor Strange. I like Benedict Cumbersnatch too. He's good. Born on this day in 1979, Rick Ankiel. Oh my God. Do you guys remember Rick Ankiel? It can't just be because I'm a Cardinals fan, right? Let's see. Hold on. I want to show you something. Some Rick Ankiel nonsense. You'll get a kick out of this. Rick Ankiel was a very highly touted pitcher in the St. Louis Cardinals baseball organization. Rick Ankiel became a starter, and he was pretty good. He was, my God, he was one of their better players, and he was a pitcher. And then, for some reason, you guys ever heard of the yips? You guys know what the yips are? Yips are something that most commonly affects surgeons. And that's the worst people it can happen to. The yips are something where when you're doing something very delicate and very precise, suddenly, for some unknown reason, you just fuck it up at the very last minute. And these are oftentimes things that you are extraordinarily well practiced at, like being a surgeon who's cutting into a heart, or being a golfer who's trying to make a gimme putt. In baseball, it most often comes with poor throws. Someone who suddenly just cannot throw the baseball where he wants to put it anymore because of the yips. Famously, pitcher Rick Ankiel, he succumbed to the yips, and it was at the worst possible moment. Rick Ankiel got a case of the yips in the game. Okay, this wasn't a regular season game. Now, he's also an aspirational story, and I'll tell you why he's such a cool aspirational story. This video ends, this YouTube ad. All right, here we go. He's a cool aspirational story. Let me pull it up for you. But this is, hold on. This is the moment he experienced the yips in a very big stage, National League Division playoffs. Let's see, do we have it? What is that? I don't need that. Hold on, guys. I'm a little bit. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Check this out. Starting pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, Rick Ankiel, has the yips during the playoffs. Watch this.
In game one. Andrew Jones in the dirt, back to the screen, and over to second base goes Greg Maddux on the wild pitch. It's a special. Another wild pitch over the head of Hernandez and back to the backstop. Turned in by Edgar Renteria. It hurt the Cardinals. Wow, to the screen again, and hits off the backstop and right back to Hernandez. So Maddux didn't go anywhere. But Andrew Jones goes to second on the third wild pitch of the inning.
God.
Maddux at third. Andrew Jones at second. This will be the 27th pitch of the inning thrown by Ankiel. And another wild one. And Maddux will score. It's ball 4 to Galarraga. He finally gets Maddux home.
So he's really like he's on ice skates back there right now.
Assessment from a longtime major league catcher, Buck Martinez. And there is the 5th wild pitch of the inning. Over to third, Galarraga. Over to second, Jordan. And now a base hit. Could make this a 4-run inning. Wild pitch. And then Chipper Jones up. Wild pitch. Galarraga up with runners at second and third. And a save of a would-be wild pitch. And then on a walk to Galarraga, wild pitch. And now another wild pitch.
Oh, my God. As someone who played catcher, that is just a nightmare scenario. Now, why is he aspirational, Rick Ankiel, who's our birthday boy today, born on this day in 1979? Because Rick Ankiel decided, okay, I guess I'm not a pitcher anymore. The thing that he had worked harder than just about anybody else, don't ever think it's not easy or difficult to make it to the major league level and to be good at the major league level. So he had perfected that craft. He was sent back down to the minor leagues where for 2 years, he tried to become an outfielder, and he tried to learn how to hit, and he tried to make his way back to the major leagues. And guess what? He did. He did. And he was really good. Not really good. He was good. He was good. He was an everyday player for the Cardinals. Rick Ankiel, the former pitching prospect who had the very public meltdown, came back 2 years later and played the outfield. And here's the crazy thing about what he was known for in the outfield. He had a gun. Like, he could throw you out from the outfield wall on a one-hopper to the plate. He had a gun from the outfield. So never give up. Rick Ankiel could have become an alcoholic wife beater and a guy who was like, I once made it to the show, but he didn't. He put his nose to the grindstone. He didn't give up. He said, okay, I love baseball. I can do this. And he learned how to hit. He's the only man other than the only guy in Major League Baseball other than Babe Ruth to have something like more than a certain amount of wins, pitching wins, and like over 70 homers in his career. So good for you, Rick Ankiel. You are a true inspiration for the rest of us. All right, that's going to do it for birthdays. Oh, no, it's not. We got one more birthday. We got Johnny Bones Jones. Johnny Bones Jones celebrating a birthday on this day. Johnny Bones Jones. I don't even know what Johnny Bones Jones is. He's the greatest fighter who's ever lived. I've never seen a fighter, mixed martial artist with more skills, more pizzazz, more swag. He's very troubled off outside of the cage. You know, he's got some issues, whatever. But he is, you know, separate the art from the artist. He is the greatest fighter and the scariest mofo I've ever seen fight. Happy birthday, John Jones. John Jones, John Jones, I don't even know what he is. Is he a champ anymore? I mean, he's the all-time greatest, but I think like he was stripped of he was lightweight champion. He's the greatest lightweight fighter in the history of MMA. That's not even discussed. And that is a division that has a shit ton of Hall of Famers. Okay. So that's a really stacked division. John Jones is the best of all time. Well, he just got bored of that division. So he moved up and then he became the heavyweight champion and looked like he's going to be absolutely unbeatable, but he's no longer heavyweight champion, right? Or is he? Maybe he is. I don't know. Sometimes John Jones is so good. He'll abandon a division and just retire for a year and wait for somebody else to come into the division and be good. And then he'll fight that guy and take the belt back. That's basically who John Jones is. Happy birthday, Johnny Bones Jones, MMA fighter extraordinaire. That's going to do it for quarter two. Let's move on to quarter three. These are dead people who died on this day. Let's talk about that, shall we? People who died. We'll decide whether they went to heaven or hell. Here we go. Let's see. Dead on this day, 2012. Here, I'm going to show this. We're going to watch this because this is funny. I remember seeing this on TV. Tom Davis. Tom Davis died on this day. Tom Davis was a comedian. He was comedy partners with the former Senator Al Franken. Yeah, that sounds like a pretty lame comedy partnership. No, but they were funny. They were original writers on Saturday Night Live, Franken and Davis. And then they left. They invented the Coneheads. Like a lot of those great early Saturday Night Live bits were Franken and Davis things that they wrote for others. They were also a comedy team. They went on David Letterman. I remember seeing this live and thinking this. I was probably like 10 or 11 years old, thinking that this was the funniest damn thing I'd ever seen. And it is so stupid. So we're just going to watch it. I don't think I'll play the whole thing because it's really long, but you'll get the gist of what the bit was. This is Franken and Davis on David Letterman on the anniversary of Tom Davis, comedian Tom Davis, and comedy writer Tom Davis. Tom Davis's death. All right, let's watch this. This is good. Here we go.
You know, if it weren't for my next two guests, there would be no Coneheads and no Al Franken Decade. Writers and performers on the original Saturday Night Live. They are now performing together on the college campuses across America in clubs and working on movie projects. Welcome, please, and not a minute too soon, Al Franken and Tom Davis.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Paul and guys. Tom will be out in just a minute, but first, I want to introduce someone who's been traveling with me and Tom for a couple months now, and this is the perfect audience for him. He really is amazing. I think you're going to find that he has an absolutely astounding talent, just an uncanny ability to do something. You're just going to be thoroughly entertained. So please give a warm late-night welcome to the Human Echo. The Human Echo.
Thank you. And thank you for that kind introduction, Al. I have to start tonight by, first of all, explaining that I got a call from my lawyer yesterday morning. Apparently there is some gentleman who claims that he is the Human Echo. And until we get this ironed out, I'm being billed as an Human Echo.
Okay. An Human Echo. Good luck ironing that out, but an Human Echo.
An Human Echo.
Okay, well, why don't we start by just having you explain exactly what it is that you do.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, my parents worked for the National Park Board of Arizona, and I practically grew up in the mouth of the Grand Canyon. And it was as a small child I discovered that I had a special talent to be able to instantaneously mimic words as I heard them, so that I was, in fact, the an Human Echo.
Okay. So, in other words, what you can do is echo back instantaneously whatever I say, even though you have no idea in advance what it is I'm going to say. Is that right?
That is correct, and I can echo any language, even languages I've never even heard of.
Such as?
Well, I don't know. I haven't heard of them. But I can echo languages that I've heard of but I don't speak, such as Chinese or German or Welsh.
Amazing. Okay, well, why don't we just begin?
All right. But you have to.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Okay, what should I say? It's great to be here on the David Letterman Show. That's amazing. 407 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new cupcake. Conceived in liberty and smothered in onions. You light up my life, and I love to go sledding and eat grapes. This is amazing. Okay, let me think of something different. Different. Different my car. I am he as you are me, and would you like to fly in my beautiful submarine? My mother's name is John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmaltz. I can't think of anything else. Mutti, wir haben Post. Wo ist der Bahnhof? Der Bahnhof ist in der Stadt, ja, ja. Ja, Yamaha, ha. Okay, great. Thank you. You were amazing. No. Stop. No, you don't understand. That's enough. No.
It's over. Shut up.
Ladies and gentlemen, and Human Echo. Wasn't he wonderful? And Human Echo.
Tom Davis.
Wasn't he amazing?
I don't know what that is, man. That brings me right back to being a kid. David Letterman was so funny. I didn't know. I mean, I had been familiar with Franken and Davis from Saturday Night Live, but they weren't like major people. They come out. Actually, if I remember really, they'd come out on Saturday Night Live and I would lose interest. But God, once I became a teenager and I started to watch their comedy sketches, they were funny. Tom Davis is in heaven, dead on this day, 2012. Dead on this day in 2014. Here's another one we're putting into heaven because why not? James Garner, Rockford. All right, what do I know about James Garner? James Garner, what was he, a cowboy? Did he do cowboy stuff in the 60s before I was really paying attention? Before I was alive. I know him as Jim Rockford, the Rockford Files. It wasn't a show that I really watched. That was kind of like dad porn of the early 70s. But I remember it being on. I don't have this like great, like I remember, I don't know what I remember of the Rockford Files. I remember I thought he was cool, right? That was like James Garner was a cool, masculine sort of role model back then. He had a history, right? Like, what was his history? Like, he's got a bunch of divorces and a daughter that won't talk to him. I don't know if that was ever exposed, but that's like the backstory of Jim Rockford. There's some bad stuff there. He and Mariette Hartley, who I don't know what she was famous for, but they in the world of voiceovers and in the world of like guy female teams, they are legendary. James Garner and Mariette Hartley for about a decade did Polaroid commercials together where they posed as like a married couple, except they never said they were a married couple. I'm James Garner and I'm Mariette Hartley. They weren't married or anything. They were just two people that were cast, and America just assumed that they were a couple because they were so good together. James Garner is going to heaven. I think they also did coffee commercials together or something. It was just their natural chemistry. It was so good. And I think it has a lot to do with James Garner. I think James Garner was just cool. Sometimes I think the character of Rick Dalton in Quentin Tarantino's, I think that he's got a lot of James Garner in him. Like, I think that's probably James Garner before he hit with the Rockford Files. Because that would have been like, Rick Dalton. He was a cowboy TV guy. He was kind of kicking around. When did the Rockford Files start? Anyway, next time you watch Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, just look at Rick Dalton as James Garner. That's who I think he might be. All right, moving on. Let's see here. James Garner's in heaven. Gary Marshall died on this day in 2016. Gary Marshall, television creator, Happy Days, Mork and Mindy. Let's see what else. Lavoine and Shoyley. He did like a whole bunch of stuff. He talked like that. He had a New York accent. Gary Marshall, he's an icon. My partner Kelly adores him. I do too. You know, I mean, he's great, but he's not Norman Lear. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There is a difference between the kinds of 70s sitcom that Norman Lear was making and their historical significance and, you know, the basic popcorn garbage that Gary Marshall made. With all due respect, Happy Days was just a time waster show. It was fun. It was delicious candy for the mind, but, you know, there wasn't like subtext. Like Norman Lear, all of his shit had subtext, like social commentary and shit like that. Norman Lear was edgy. Norman Lear like pushed boundaries. Gary Marshall didn't. Mork, there you go. Mork was pretty much as edgy as Gary Marshall got. Blansky's Beauties. He had a show called Blansky's Beauties. Oh, he also knew how to milk a thing. Like Gary Marshall had like probably 10 shows in production at the exact same time that he was killing it with Laverne and Shirley and in Happy Days. 10 shows we probably don't remember. Blansky's Beauties being one of them. Here was the premise of Blansky's Beauties. Chachi from Happy Days is now somehow transported, because he's playing the same character. He's transported now to like modern day Las Vegas, where he is living with his aunt, who I think is Nancy Walker. Remember Nancy Walker, the old lady, the quicker picker-upper? It's Bounty, the quicker picker-upper. That's her. That's Nancy Walker. I think it was Nancy Walker, and she was his aunt, and they lived in Vegas, and she ran like basically a whorehouse. That's what it was. But I guess in the movie or in the TV show, she ran Blansky's Beauties. It was a modeling agency. I think it was a whorehouse, but that's about as edgy as Gary Marshall ever got. Where's he going? He's going to heaven? Yeah, he gave us Mork. He's going to heaven. He discovered Mork. All right, that's going to do it. Those are the first 3 quarters of today's show. Once again, I'd love to remind you, help the show out. Drop a little something if you can. Be a good time to tip. This show needs your support. You support this kind of talk radio, the kind that doesn't require you to check in with how you voted. Drop a little something, won't you? All right, let's get into quarter 4. These are all the hot topics, current events, and all the things that people are buzzing about today. The big story is the CrowdStrike global outage. Is it affecting us? I don't know. I don't think it's really affecting us. CrowdStrike, which is an internet security firm, it's one of the biggest, American-based. They had an issue today where now apparently there's no planes in the sky. A whole bunch of airports are closed. CrowdStrike works with the federal government. They do a lot of like investigations into for hire investigations into like, you know, large scale hacking situations. CrowdStrike first became really famous and talked about after, do you remember the Hollywood hacking scandal where North Koreans hacked into all these celebrities' nudie pictures? What do they call that? There's like a name for it. Nudie-gate or something. I don't know, whatever it is. But CrowdStrike was who uncovered that. So CrowdStrike has a pretty good reputation as being sort of the last line of defense for a lot of our, you know, dependent internet things. Well, it all went to shit. Now, here's the thing, and CrowdStrike is making this very clear because this is bad. If CrowdStrike was hacked, that is decimating to their entire business model. CrowdStrike is already down, I want to say 15%. Don't quote me, I'm not a stock guy, but it was something like that. Since this occurred, CrowdStrike cannot come out and say that we were hacked, because CrowdStrike are supposed to be the people that will stop you from being hacked. So that's bad business. What they are saying happened here is that an update was flawed, and it was an update that apparently only affected Microsoft operating systems, but it's their update. CrowdStrike would like you to know it's their update. Yeah. What if you came out and said that you got hacked? Your company would be in the toilet. That's why you're claiming it's an update. I don't believe anything I hear about this. All I do know is that healthcare systems, air travel, and banking has been affected globally because something went wrong with the crowdsource protection system. I don't know what it is. It seems like it's a pretty big deal. Hasn't affected us. Has it? I don't know. Has it affected you guys? I haven't seen. Is Venmo down? That would be great. On my birthday, my Venmo and Cash App will be affected because of CrowdStrike. The RNC is still going. Is it still going on? Or is it over? It's over, right? They don't do it on Friday. Thursday's the big night. Last night, everybody was waiting around. The big guy came out. He spoke. Everybody went nuts. Everybody was talking about it. It was the big event of the RNC. And then after Hulk Hogan, then Trump came. That's right. Hulk Hogan seemed to steal the spotlight from Trump, who I don't watch because I don't watch conventions. That's stupid. That's like, what? This is so boring. You know how many opportunities you have to see these people that are speaking at the convention? You know how many opportunities you have to watch them speak? Just go on YouTube. They all got stupid shit that they've said. So you're going to carve out a Tuesday night in the summer instead of watching baseball, instead of watching, some Discovery show where they're hunting for treasure. Instead of watching that, you're going to watch these like very boring people who are not saying anything that should resonate with you, because truly all they're doing is they're up there pushing their own brand and their own products. You're going to watch that. Why are you watching the RNC? Don't watch the DNC either. It's just stupid. Although, wait a second, you're going to call me a hypocrite because I truly think I'm going to be glued to the DMC because there's real drama over there. There's real drama going on. There's going to be floor fights, I believe. I don't think Biden's going to be the guy. But anyway, RNC. Hulk Hogan talked yesterday. I'll tell you what, though. I will say this. Of what I have seen of the RNC, and I said this earlier in the week, the RNC women are way hotter. They are way more attractive. They put way more of a import on looking good. A lot more Botox, a lot more breast implants, a lot more, all of that stuff. Attractive women over there. Fox News, they were the first ones. Fox News was like, yeah, we want journalists, but let's just get the best looking ones. No uggos, like they got over there at CNN. So there you go, the RNC. I think it's over with. Biden, let's talk about Biden. Calls are coming in louder and louder. We've got a new senator today who said he needs to step down. We got a whole bunch more congressmen. People are becoming more and more public. Apparently, the Obamas are talking to the Bidens, and people who were inside the Biden inner circle, who were just a couple of weeks ago telling him to stay in the race, are now telling him that he needs to get out. We're expecting something this weekend. There you go. That's it. Let's get him out of there. Yeah. Why? It'll be interesting. Right now, it's not interesting. Right now, it sucks. Right now, it's totally. The other guy ain't going anywhere. Trump ain't going anywhere. Hey, you come for the king, you best not miss. They missed. He ain't going anywhere. He's there. So he's there, and my God, does he got Big Mo. So it's the other side. Come on, let's make it interesting. What are you going to offer me here on the other side, Democrats? You're just going to fall on your stupid sword again and be like, we're going to lose valiantly. Yeah, you liberals. You liberals find honor in defeat, like nobody. They're almost okay with defeat. It's suggested on some level that they understand that their demands and that their wants are completely unrealistic. That's my problem with liberals. Got other problems with the right, but we'll move on. Here's a big story. So this weekend, man, it's be very exciting. He might drop out this weekend because he's got the COVID. Coincidentally, how convenient. Let's talk a little bit about Evan Gershkovich. Evan Gershkovich, we've been talking about his story as news has popped up over the past year on this show. He is the Wall Street Journal reporter who was arrested in Russia and held, for the past 18 months without a trial, all that good stuff. He was arrested and accused of treason, or not treason, being a spy. Because I guess it can't be treason if you're a spy, because he was accused of being a spy. I guess you can be a treasonous spy if you're if you're spying on the people that you get what I'm saying. I don't need to get into this weird loop here. He was charged with treason. He says he was there doing official work for the Wall Street Journal, but he went to a place that he wasn't supposed to go. At least that's what they're claiming. We know very little as far as the rest of the details about how he's been treated. He pops up every once in a while. He was found guilty. He was found guilty yesterday. No surprise there. What is it? 16 years? I believe he's been sentenced to 16 years in prison. American Evan Gershkovich. We don't talk about him as much because I guess he can't dunk a basketball. I don't know. He's a guy that he's a journalist. I don't know what to think about him. Because there's a part of me that I think I think that almost every journalist who's in Moscow is in some way or another had contact with the CIA. And if you wanted to build a case that they were associated with American intelligence, you probably could. That's just me. Like, I'm a war correspondent for the Associated Press. Oh, really? You also work for the CIA, don't you? Well, yeah, but shh. I mean, what do you think these cover jobs are? I mean, what do you think they just drop a guy who's like a career, intelligence officer, and they're like, okay, we just dropped? No, they have long backstories. So I don't know. I don't know if he was spying. It doesn't, for me, I think the Russians are evil. So I think he's a hero if he was spying. But they found him guilty. And here's what's going to happen with Evan Gershkovich. He's going to be used as some sort of a bargaining chip moving forward. He's not going to spend 16 years. Something will happen. We'll arrest somebody now that they're going to want back, some oligarch or something, and it'll be a trade. And that's how these things are done. Terrible, though. Terrible development for Evan Gershkovich. 16 years sentenced in Moscow court. Tenacious D. Here's a new story. Tenacious D, we've been following them all week. Tenacious D, apparently they got a rift between Jack Black, of course, the big star of Tenacious D, and Kyle Gass, who's the one nobody knows, right? Kyle Gass is the other guy. He's the Andrew Ridgeley of Tenacious D. He is the Oates of Tenacious D. So they're touring the world. Tenacious D is back. Now, here's my thoughts on this. Jack Black is a major star. Jack Black could just go out on tour by himself. Like, he'd be Jack Black live, and he can do all the crazy songs and all that. But somehow, I think maybe on some level, he feels a little guilty about how his career exploded out of Tenacious D, and Kyle Gass's career didn't do anything. You see him sometimes on sitcoms, but he is certainly not Jack Black. So maybe out of guilt, Jack Black's like, all right, 20-year anniversary of Tenacious D, Kyle. Let's go out on the road. This will make you some money for the next few years. And for me, it'll be like my vacation. So I think that's how this whole thing came about. They're down there in Australia on the day that Trump gets the assassination attempt occurs. And Kyle Gass, it's his birthday. And on his birthday, Jack brings out a big cake on stage, and the whole crowd sings happy birthday. He blows out the candles. They say, did you make a wish? And he said, yeah, my wish is that the guy doesn't miss next time. Oh, how funny. An assassination joke. We watched the video. It went down. Jack Black laughed. Everybody in the crowd laughed. It was all like, hey, let's keep having fun. There was no, oh my God, you shouldn't say that. There was no wince of that's inappropriate from Jack Black. We saw it. We watched it. If you were here with us a couple days ago, we watched the video. So Jack Black, in the wake of that, like 24 hours later, obviously all of his A-list Hollywood publicists and all that, they got his ear. And they're like, you need to distance yourself from this guy and you need to cancel the tour. So the Tenacious D tour was canceled almost immediately, and Jack Black released a very terse public statement that suggested that he was done working with Kyle Gass forever. Maybe this is the break he wanted. Maybe Jack just felt like Kyle was dead weight and he needed to get broken away from him and leave him behind because he's not as talented as Jack Black or whatever it is. Maybe this is something he was looking. This is the excuse Jack Black needed to go out and do Jack Black from Tenacious D. It doesn't matter. He'll sell out just on his name alone. Nobody's buying a ticket for Kyle Gass. So he dusted him. He dusted his old friend in a very public way that made it seem like it was all his fault. And when I first saw Jack Black basically saying how appalled he was by it, and I thought, wow, okay, all right, well, that's you should be appalled by that. That's good. That's a good stay. Then I saw the video, and I went, you weren't appalled by it. You weren't appalled by it in the moment. There was nothing. This was all afterwards. People got to you and said, you need to now be appalled. So Jack Black, dance monkey dance. That's what he did. He distanced himself from Kyle Gass, and he says that he is no longer going out on tour with them. Comes this news. Here's some new news. Kyle Gass, apparently, probably because, Jack went up to him and said, oh my God, dude, do you have any idea what you did? Do you have any idea what they're telling me? Do you have any idea what's going on here? Hold on. And Kyle Gass issued an Instagram statement where he apologized. So let me read this to you. This is Tenacious D's Kyle Gass issues Instagram post apologizing for Trump remark, then instantly deletes it. So apparently this thing, they were monitoring his Instagram because it says instantly, which I don't know. That probably means, this is bad writing, it's just a bad journalist, probably means he deleted it like after a half hour or something. Kyle Gass of Tenacious D has deleted his Instagram apology following intense backlash over a controversial comment about former U.S. President Donald Trump during the band's Sydney, Australia concert. The incident, which occurred on July 14th, has had major repercussions for both Gass and the band. Well, for Gass, for sure. I don't think anything's happened with Jack Black. Let's see. Ugh. What is going on here? Okay, let's do this. When asked to make a wish, Gass quipped, "Don't miss Trump next time." This was his birthday wish. In response to the uproar, Gass initially apologized on Instagram, stating, "I don't condone violence of any kind, in any form, against anyone. What happened was a tragedy, and I'm incredibly sorry for my severe lack of judgment. I profoundly apologize to those I've let down and truly regret any pain I've caused. However, that apology was deleted." All right, so he put it up and then went, you know what, fuck this. If Jack is going to completely abandon me. The fallout from Gass's joke led to a domino effect that saw him dropped by his agent and fired from Tenacious D days after the tour was canceled outright. All right, so you can't fire half of Tenacious D and still think there's a Tenacious D, right? Anyway, I don't know, man. This whole situation kind of makes me mad at Jack Black. Kind of makes me think that I thought that a guy like Jack Black had the kind of career at this point where he was basically, he has his bag. Like if it all went away tomorrow, he'd be fine. I really thought Jack Black seemed like a stand-up guy who would be, you know, that friend to Kyle Gass and not so publicly throw him under the bus. My friends say stupid shit all the time. Look at my chat room. You guys in the chat room, I say stupid shit all the time. We forgive each other and we move on. And if we're truly good friends and we've truly been through the wars together, we stand by them. We say, yeah, I'm canceling the tour. I'm a little pissed at Kyle at the moment. I don't know how we're going to have to work this out. That's what you say. You don't say what Jack Black said, which is, I am no longer working with Kyle Gass. Like, you're a dick, man. You're a dick. To all us Tenacious D fans, that's just not on brand. It's just not. You think Tenacious D fans have a problem with that? What do you think? Tenacious D was up for a Disney cartoon that he just screwed? Tenacious D is an underground act that basically cool people like Tenacious D. And cool people aren't pearl-clutching bitches. Not a bunch of snowflakes who can't take a bad joke. And by the way, you know, if Jack Black truly was appalled by that, he should have said something on stage. He should have said, come on now, Kyle, we don't condone that. Why didn't he do that? Because he didn't think there was going to be a problem until all of the publicists that he hires and keeps in business called him and said, you got to distance yourself. It's very disappointing. All right. Let's talk about Bob Newhart, okay? Bob Newhart is one of my favorite people in the history of entertainment. I've loved Bob Newhart my entire life. Bob Newhart died yesterday, 94 years old, and I just recently, just a couple of months ago, I was watching something with there's a fantastic documentary about Bob Newhart and Don Rickles. And I didn't know this, and I knew a lot about Bob Newhart, at least I thought I did. Bob Newhart and Don Rickles had been best friends for like 60 years. They both met in the late 1950s, early 1960s. Don Rickles was already a fairly well-known personality and comedian, and he somehow became friendly with not young because they're like the same age, but Bob Newhart was an accountant before he went into comedy. He had a whole career before that. And somehow he and Don Rickles became friends, and they became best friends for like 60 years. And when I say best friends, I mean they specifically built houses near each other. They hung out every single day. I mean, we think about the great Hollywood friendships that are always, so inspiring to us about how, I want to have a relationship like Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner. Oh, I want to have, a relationship like, like this one, the one that we're talking about here, Don Rickles and Bob Newhart. They traveled together. There was a great documentary about their friendship, and I don't know what it's called, but It was really nice. And it's also very interesting because Don Rickles and Bob Newhart are two completely different kinds of comedians. Don Rickles was an edgy insult, being mean to the audience, over the top, make it louder because it's funnier. That was Don Rickles. Okay. Bob Newhart was the king of timing. Nobody had better comedic timing and deadpan nuance the way Bob Newhart did. Bob Newhart was not necessarily funny on his own. He required something to play off. In much of Bob Newhart's early comedy career, he had someone to play off, himself. He was playing off himself. He utilized this. He innovated this idea of a guy getting up on stage and doing the telephone bit. Now, he wasn't the first person to do it. He didn't pioneer it, but he innovated it. He made it something that was actually popular. The Button Down Mind, right? Isn't that it? His comedy album where he debuted the telephone calls, where it's just him on stage pretending to be talking to someone, and you're only getting his side of it. And it's just brilliant, nuanced, smart, sophisticated comedy. That's who Bob Newhart was. Bob Newhart wasn't, fatty fall down and, whoa, kick him in the balls. No, Bob Newhart was a different kind of dude, sophisticated, dry. And I'll tell you this, one of my first things in radio, I worked an overnight talk show in Chicago, a legendary, iconic overnight talk show I was the producer of. And it was this guy by the name of Chicago Eddie Schwartz. And for 30 years, this dude just, did a live talk radio show from midnight to like 6 a.m. He was always on. And he did big time celebrity interviews. And his whole thing was, how did he get Sinatra to hang out in studio? He just had this Cosby in the 80s in studio with him for 4 hours between 2 and 6 a.m. I mean, he had that kind of stroke. So I got to meet a lot of these like icons. And Bob Newhart, who is, a Chicagoan, and he's an icon of Chicago comedy, which is a whole nother interesting thing. Bob Newhart is an icon of Chicago comedy when Chicago itself is known for all of their comedians. I mean, when you think of like the most revered, you got your Belushis and you got your Farleys and you get everybody. Everybody came through, whatever it was, the Second City Training Center or whatever. Bob Newhart in Chicago was the exalted one. So I'm doing this overnight talk show, and I'm there for probably I've only been there about a month. And the executive producer of the show, a guy by the name of Mitch Rosen, he says to me, he goes, I need you to go wait by the elevator because Bob Newhart is going to be showing up. And I don't know when he's going to be here. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know when he's going to be here? He's like, just go sit on the chair by the elevator. And when Mr. Newhart comes out, he goes, I want you to, make sure that, you introduce him, you get him all set up and prepped. And I'm like, okay, very good. So I'm sitting there, and I don't know. Bob Newhart apparently was in town, and he was out to dinner, and he was having fun with friends and stuff. And he had promised Eddie that he would stop by at some point during the show, because again, Eddie was on from like midnight to 6 a.m. Well, it was right about 1. I'd gotten out there at midnight, and it was right after the 1 o'clock hour. So I'm thinking, how long is this going to go? And if this guy doesn't show up, as big celebrities sometimes do, they just won't show up. And if this guy doesn't show up, am I going to have to sit here for 6 hours? Well, right when it was getting to be torture for me, that's when the door opened up. And the doors opened up, and there is fucking Bob Newhart. Bob Newhart in a goddamn trench raincoat, like a London fog coat, like right out of that show. If you remember his first sitcom, Newhart, on CBS, where he played a psychiatrist, he looked exactly like that. And the door opens up, and I'm sitting there, and he steps out, and he looks at me, and I'm like, holy shit, this is Bob Newhart. Like, I've never really met. I'm 22 years old. Never really met somebody really big. Not only I'm like, holy shit, is this Bob Newhart? I'm like, holy shit, this is Bob Newhart. And he's here for me. He's here. I'm now going to have to take care of him. So door opens up. He steps out and he looks around and he sees me sitting there, and I stand up immediately and I go, Mr. Newhart, welcome to the Eddie Schwartz show. That whole thing. And he laughed and he goes, they make you sit out here? I go, well, we wanted to make sure you got in okay. He goes, do they not think I'm capable of getting out of an elevator? I go, no, Mr. Newhart. He was, long story short, he was such a wonderful man. He was so nice. This is a major star. This is a guy who had received every award in comedy, from like the National Medal to the Kennedy Center honors to, Emmys and, all of these things. 2 massively successful television shows in 2 completely different decades for 2 completely different generations of people. Bob Newhart was an absolute titan of comedy, and he died yesterday at the age of 94. And all I can say is that I've always loved that man. I've always loved his comedy style. I've loved every show that he's ever done. That Newhart show, the original one, that one where he played a psychiatrist, and it was just, when you think about that show in the terms of the other show, that was a smart show. That was a show that was dealing with mental illness in the early 1970s. Such a brilliant show. And then, of course, in the 80s, after Newhart went off the air in the mid 70s, he took a couple of years off, and then he did. The Bob Newhart show. The Bob Newhart show was the one that came first. Then came Newhart. That was one in the 80s where he lived in the woods in New Hampshire and operated a bed and breakfast. Remember that one with Larry, Daryl, and Daryl? I'm Larry, is my brother Daryl. He was just so timeless. So timeless in everything that he did. I will say this as well. A lot of times when iconic television series, and Newhart was definitely that. I loved that show. It was probably the only show I watched on CBS. CBS had lame sitcoms, but the Newhart show was pretty funny. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. A lot of times when these iconic television series end, their final episode is super disappointing. It's like, The Bob Newhart show has the second best series final scene of any in television history. You talk about Seinfeld, people are like, that sucked. The end of Friends, that sucked. No. Bob Newhart, second best. And quite possibly first best in sitcoms. Because the way Newhart ended, the show Newhart, remember he was married to Mary Fran? Mary Fran was his wife in Newhart. She was the redhead. She was kind of hot. In the original show, he was married to Suzanne Pleshette. Suzanne Pleshette was also hot. So in the final scene of his second sitcom, Newhart, he wakes up in his bed and he turns to the woman sleeping next to him, and it's Susan Pleshette from the first sitcom. The entire second sitcom, the entire show Newhart, was a dream that Bob from the Bob Newhart show had. As a dream, he's married to a different woman, and just such an incredibly cool way to end that show. The best way a sitcom has ever ended. I'll say that about Bob Newhart show. Newhart. The best ending of all time is St. Elsewhere. Just look it up. St. Elsewhere, that was an hour-long drama series. That's the greatest television show ending of all time. It also has to do with it all being a dream, and I think that possibly Newhart may have stolen the idea from St. Elsewhere, but it doesn't matter. They both work so effectively. Bob Newhart was an awesome man, and he died yesterday, and that's really too bad. All right, let's see here. What else do we have? Lou Dobbs died as well. Lou Dobbs was a provocateur. Lou Dobbs, for years and years, was on Fox and then Fox Business. Divisively political, kind of a mean old man. Lou Dobbs. He's no Bob Newhart. He's no kindly, decent, fun, understanding guy. Nah, Lou Dobbs was a blowhard on TV who said mean things about people and seemed to benefit from that. So we'll move on from Lou Dobbs, eulogizing him. Here's a cool story. So are you worried about what's going on with your... Well, a lot of people complain about colleges, right? My tax dollars. So, okay, public colleges. We'll talk about that here. So, a lot of money is being spent in public colleges on all kinds of nonsense. Here is a study, or not a study. Here is a big, I'm just going to pull it up because I'm kind of fumbling through this story. I'll put it to you this way. UCLA is building a multi-million-dollar shroom garden on top of one of their buildings. That's right. It is a place, millions of dollars are being spent to create a place where UCLA students can go and do shrooms and be outside, and the world is changing. Microdosing has become a thing. Yeah, it's a real thing. This next generation, they're all going to be half tripping balls all day long. That's, whatever. We'll see how that goes. A gentle LA breeze floats through a wall of green plants as you watch a butterfly flap its wings in the air. A friendly person hands you an ecstasy pill over the sound of gently gurgling water. It seems like a dreamy psychedelic party at a hippie's house in Venice, but this is actually part of UCLA's vision for a new plan to build what are they calling it? Oh, a new plan to build a living laboratory. Ooh, very cool. Very cool. The university is hoping to build a plant-filled rooftop garden designed specifically for psychedelic-assisted therapy sessions. See, that's how they do it. That's how they... Look, people like to trip balls. That's it. People like it. You have these individual experiences where, you go someplace else and you see the world in a different way and windows open up. What do you mean windows open up? I mean, you see the world differently for the first time. That's all. That's what it is. People like doing that. Now, in order to mainstream that, you have to find some sort of legitimate use for it instead of just, oh, my hippie brother went to the desert and tripped balls. You got to have more of a legitimate use for that. So therapy has been the way that they've therapy is where we got ecstasy. Ecstasy. Do you know where ecstasy started? Ecstasy started in Highland Park, Texas, on the campus of SMU University. Ecstasy was being used. There were some fancy, this is late 70s, early 80s. So there was a couples therapist operating out of a big old mansion in Highland Park, Texas. There was a couples therapist who had a group of couples, and they were all headed for divorce and all this kind of stuff. So he started using MDMA. He started working with this. It wasn't illegal yet because, the rave scene hadn't built up, but he started working with MDMA. And he gave all of his, people who were about to divorce MDMA therapy sessions. And guess what? They fell back in love because you don't want to divorce when you're on ecstasy. You don't. You want to just hug that person and tell them how much you love them and how everything's your fault. So as a tool in therapy, there were some applications being tested by the use of MDMA. Doing the same thing with psychedelics now. Now, a bunch of tech bros and Silicon Valley people, they're trying to popularize the more common use, the more micro-dosing, or just a little drop on your tongue when you're way out the door, and then I don't know what that does. I don't know what micro-dosing does. They say that it makes you more creative and it makes you way more productive, I guess. I don't know. But UCLA is justifying this taxpayer dollar funded, it is a state-controlled university. They're justifying this taxpayer dollar funded psychedelic garden. And would you be surprised to learn that I'm totally okay with it? Totally. I know you're thinking, you're like, Pugs, you sounded like you were mad about that. I'm not. Why would I be mad about that? I don't fucking understand how the brain works. I know that my brain is crazy. I know my brain's got some shit. I would love to know more about my brain. So I encourage anything that is going to have smart people in lab coats trying to figure out what goes on with the brain when different chemicals are introduced to it. So I'm totally fine with it. But of course, you can take the reductive view of, why are we just going to let hippies up on a roof? Oh, fuck you. Stop being stupid. There might be some actual progress. We know, look at medical marijuana. We know about cancer patients. We know about how their burdens are eased. We know about how people suffering from all kinds of different debilitating and non-treatable diseases have benefited from the use of CBDs and cannabinoid oils and just getting high. Just getting your appetite back because radiation is fucked. We know this. 30 years ago, though, you'd have had the blue hairs going, you can't help a cancer patient with weed. And how do you know, Grandma? Because my preacher tells me. Oh, okay. So you're a fucking scientist, right? So you're just going to go with what your preacher says and let old Aunt so-and-so, Aunt Minnie, writhe in pain for the last 6 months of her cancer battle. Okay, fuck you. I mean, seriously, when somebody is terminal and they want to do something that is going to make them feel better, how can you be against that? What kind of a person? No, you can't conjunct anything and shut up. Anyway, there you go. They're gonna have a tripping balls garden on top of a building there at UCLA. What else do we have here? Fandango. The guy who owns Fandango, the guy who started Fandango, jumped off a building. You guys know about this? Jesus, my God. I always talk about these suicide guys and, depression. You just can't account for depression. Anthony Bourdain, Robin Williams, it doesn't matter how good you think somebody's life is. Chris Cornell, doesn't matter. Kurt Cobain, these people, depression is a weird, terrible thing. In the case of the Fandango founder, though, Fandango is? I use Fandango all the time. Whenever I go to a movie, I use Fandango. Fandango is just you used to have to get the newspaper and open it up to the Showtime section, and then you'd look at all the theaters and all that. Now you just go to Fandango. Go to Fandango, I put my zip code in there, and it's got my card. It's got all my information. It knows I want to go to this movie at this time at this place. Boom, there I go. I love it. But Fandango apparently took it across the chops during the pandemic. I guess nobody was going to movie theaters. Well, you couldn't go to movie theaters. But Fandango had some really bad problems during the pandemic, and the super rich guy who founded it was apparently going through some bad financial troubles. And the other day he jumped off of a luxury hotel building in Manhattan, killing himself. His name is J. Michael Klein. Fandango founder J. Michael Klein. ID'd as Jumper, who leapt to his death from luxury New York City hotels. The man who leapt to his death from a luxury hotel in Midtown this week was identified as the wealthy co-founder of the movie ticket firm Fandango and a philanthropist who advocated for the protection of tigers. J. Michael Klein, 64 years old, serial entrepreneur and father of 6 with a home in Greenwich, Connecticut, plunged from the 20th floor of the Kimberly Hotel and landed in a third-floor courtyard Tuesday morning. Klein, who was also a managing partner at the startup funding firm Accretive, left an apparent suicide note before jumping from the building on East 50th Street. Yeah, well, there you go. Jumped out of a building. I don't know. That's not a way to go. That is no way to go. Because what if you don't die instantly? I mean, I guess you'd be in shock. Shock is a wonderful thing. Your body, once your body goes, okay, that's too much pain for us to process, your whole body shuts down, so you don't feel anything. That's how you get people with an arm that's just been ripped off by a shark going, no, I'm fine, it'll be good. That's shock. Shock does that. I don't want to jump out of anything and then bounce off the ground and then for a minute be because the shock, you're still probably all tingly and I don't need it. I don't know. I'm not going to do that. There's no way. I don't want a bullet in the head. I might miss. And then I'm just ugly. I'm just uglier, Oh, yeah, he tried to kill himself because he didn't like his lot in life. So he put a gun to his head, pulled the trigger, and now he's disfigured. Nope. He lived, though. He's fine. He just has no jaw. Yeah, no, don't want to do that. Anyway, jumping on a building. Dude should have taken pills. That's all I'm saying. Dude should have just taken pills, gone to sleep, put on some music. There's a way to do it. Suicide pods. We talked about that yesterday. The Swiss have introduced suicide pods. He's a rich guy. He could have had one of those. Fandango. Guy who created Fandango jumped out of a building. Let's see here. Oh, this is one that I left off from yesterday. I thought this might be a good place for us to do this. So the U.S. Census, the Bureau of the U.S. Census. Here, I'll pull this up. I'll look at it this way. They broke down in America the household incomes based upon ethnic groups. And I teased it yesterday that my white people ain't going to be happy. And my white Americans, my good, hardworking white Americans, we are the worst. We are dude, we're behind Cambodian immigrants. Cambodian immigrants are killing us. They're making way more money than us. They're doing all kinds of things. Innovation, opening businesses, buying homes, owning property. My God, that's what this is about. So who are the ethnic groups in this country that are truly killing it, that are truly starting businesses, buying land, and it's also average household income? So here you go. Are you ready? This is the median. I'll give you the household incomes, although there are a number of other factors like entrepreneurial and all that kind of stuff. But median U.S. household income by selected ethnic groups. Okay, here you go. You ready for this? First of all, let's set the bar with last place. That's the white American. Well, we're only in last place because the jobs are being... These people aren't fucking taking jobs. These people are starting businesses. These people are owning apartment buildings. These people aren't just sitting there taking jobs. You're talking about the migrant workers who, maybe you hire off a street corner to help you tar your roof. That's not a real, these are the actual people who have come to this country seeking the American dream without all of the benefits that we natural-born Americans were given. We natural-born Americans were given every opportunity in this world because we're goddamn Americans. And if you don't think that's true, then get out of my country. No, it is true. No, I do resist the whole thing. Only in America, because that's bullshit. There are super wealthy people who started from nothing in other countries. Don't tell me only in America can this happen. But it does happen most frequently here. It's kind of our whole brand. It's what we're built on. So maybe when we look at this list, maybe there is a negative to the complacency that we as natural-born Americans who go through the experience of being a natural-born American and being here, maybe there is some complacency, some expectations that other people who come here from other countries who settle and have families, they're like, fuck it. The last place I came from, they would just pull you out of your bed at night and shoot you in the street. So you know what? I'm going to work today. Maybe that's kind of the thing. I don't know. White Americans, let me get this right. Median U.S. household income by selected ethnic groups. White Americans, $65,000. Okay, $65,000. Now, why is this? What do you mean? I make more than that and I'm white. Yeah, go visit like the deep South. Go to Appalachia. Okay, go to like, there are a lot of poor white people in this country. Okay. So white people, that's going to affect the average. There's a lot of white people in this country. There are by far a larger, but I guess this is percentages, so that doesn't really. White Americans, average income, 60 household income, selected ethnic groups, white, $65,000 a year. All right, who's next on the list? A little bit better than us. By the way, we're at the bottom of this list. We're the last one. Actually, I imagine Black Americans are the last one, but they didn't include that. I bet you Black Americans are a little bit below. Again, this comes from the U.S. Census Bureau. White Americans, 65,000. Vietnamese Americans, people who have been here in this country over 30 years. Most of them you would think were immigrants after the Vietnam War. Vietnamese Americans, 67 a year. Vietnamese American families make more than white natural-born American families. This one, Hmong, H-M-O-N-G, they make 67.3. I don't know what they are. Cambodians also make 67.5 for Cambodian immigrants. Korean immigrants, now we're taking a jump up. The average household, the median household income for Korean immigrants is $73,000 a year. All right, now we're getting up there. Indonesian American families, the average median income, Indonesian, 74,005. Filipinos are 75. Pakistanis are 77. Japanese are 80. The average median income for a Japanese American family is $80,000. The median income for just a normal white family in America is 65. So what is that? What is that? You get nuked, you lose a couple of wars, and you're kind of like, okay, I know how bad it can get. I'm gonna go work my ass off again. What is this about? Is this about complacency? I think there's a lot of complacency among us Americans. I know that I suffer from it. I know I have expectations. Let's see here. What else do we have? Filipinos, 75, Pakistanis, 77, Japanese, 80,000, Chinese American families average $81,000 a year. Taiwanese American families, $95,000 a year, median household income. Here you go. The number one, they're crushing it to an extent that all the other ethnic groups just can't keep up with. And I'm telling you, they are outpacing this. They are number one. They are outpacing number two by $25,000 a year in median household income. The Indian Americans, $119,000. It's because they're doctors, right? Is that it? It's because they're all anesthesiologists, doctors. That's racist. Yes, it is very racist to accuse a specific ethnic group of being really good at being doctors. That is racist. That is racist. All right, there you have it. That is ethnic groups broken down. Household median income by ethnic groups broken down. United States Census Bureau is the source on that. Of course, If that upset you, if you didn't like that, then, you know, you just don't have to believe it because, you know, fuck that. The Census Bureau is just not one of these government puppet shows. I am no. We select what it is we believe. If it agrees with us, then yes, we believe that. That is, if it disagrees with us, we're like, fake news. Okay, that's who we are. Let's be better. Be best, as the hottest first lady once said. Be best. Oh, here's a fun one. This is another interesting one. And I think this has, I don't think, I know, this has everything to do with these crazy culture wars that we live through here in this country. Check this out. We have a new list this summer. It's just been released. There is a new list of the top selling beers in America. This is crazy. I am shocked. I am shocked by this list of the top selling beers in America. All right. Now, for decades, the top selling beer in America was always Bud Light. Bud Light outsold everybody else. Wasn't even close. Bud Light. Of course, last year, though, Kid Rock decided that Bud Light was gay. So Bud Light took a big hit. They did. You guys really did you did good work with your little canceling of Bud Light, because Bud Light for the first time is not the number one beer in America. You know what the number one beer in America is? Modelo. Modelo Especial. Yeah. You guys all hate immigrants, but apparently you love their beer because you're like, Bud Light's for the gays. And then you just, now the number one beer in America is like a Mexican beer. Modelo. I was shocked by this. I thought that was still kind of a niche beer. Although I gotta say, the refrigerator here we did, there are bottles of Modelo in there. Whenever I'm out at the lake, there was always a cooler filled with bottles of Modelo out there at the lake. Other people walking around drinking bottles of Modelo. Where did Modelo come from? I mean, Corona, I'd understand that. If you said Corona was, I'd be like, yeah, a lot of people drink Corona. But apparently Modelo is who benefited from the Bud Light fall. Modelo Especial is the number one beer in America, number one selling beer in America last year. Number two selling beer in America last year, and this is my go-to. I drink this. This is like fucking water. This is like water, and it doesn't have the calories. Mick Ultra. Mick Ultra. Give me a Mick Ultra. Ice cold Mick Ultra, man. I can down a whole bottle of that in like 10 seconds. Just, ice cold. Mick Ultra. It's not the best tasting beer, but again, do I need to tell you? All beer tastes bad. No, this beer is delicious. Your palate is fucked up. That is spoiled fruit. That is that we're not supposed to like it. The reason that it makes us drunk, right? So like in the animal kingdom, when an animal gets drunk, they know to stay away from that shit. Not us humans. When something makes us drunk, spoiled fruit or whatever the hell it is, we're like, let's do more of that. So stop it. Alcohol tastes terrible. That's the whole point. That's the warning sign. The warning sign that you shouldn't be is that it tastes terrible. No, there are wines that are good. No, they're not. No, they're not. You know what? There's Gatorade. You're thirsty. I'll give you a frozen bottle of wine or a frozen Gatorade. Not frozen, but you know what I mean, ice cold. What are you going to drink? You're going to drink the Gatorade because the wine tastes weird. When push comes to shove, you're going to stop acting like it's delicious. No, it's not. You know what's delicious? A strawberry milkshake. That's an expensive bottle of spoiled fruit. Stop it. Stop acting like, it's a pleasure to be eating or drinking this stuff. You're not. You're just trying to get drunk. You want the after effects. You wouldn't drink non-alcoholic wine. There's no market for that. Michelob Ultra is number 2. That's why I drink it, because I'm trying to get drunk. If I'm drinking beer, it's because I want to catch a buzz and have some fun with these people. I'm not going to sit here and savor the awful taste of spoiled fruit. Michelob Ultra is number 2. Number 3 best-selling beer in America, didn't fall far, only did number 3. It's Bud Light. Ladies and gentlemen, Bud Light. Number 4 best-selling beer in America, after Bud Light, Coors Light. I don't like Coors Light. I don't know if I got to take a position on one of that. I don't like Coors Light. I drink Bud Light, I drink Mick Ultra, and I drink Miller Light. That's pretty much it. And, if the mood, if it's a special occasion or something, I'll have a Guinness. But that's pretty much the extent. That's Guinness and a shot of Jameson, if we're drinking. Coors Light, for some reason, Coors Light to me, I don't know what it is. Corona Extra comes in at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Number 5, the 5 most popular selling brand of beer in America is Corona Extra. I love Corona. Corona is a lot like Michelob Ultra for me. It's just water. It's just like ice cold water that'll give you a buzz. Doesn't really taste, not hoppy. There's not like an aftertaste. You can just, and when you add the lime, like I'm still one of them dudes. I come from the 90s. I still add a lime to my Corona, and then I do the trick where you turn it upside down and then you pull it out. And anyway, that's me. I love Corona. Corona's a really good beer. Those glass bottles, the clear glass bottles, right? That's something, because all the other beer bottles, they're usually like tinted. Clear glass bottles of Corona. That's the number 5 best-selling beer in America. Number 6 is Miller Lights. I grew up a Miller Lite guy. I grew up a Miller Lite and Old Style and Miller Lite guy. I like Miller Lite. Milwaukee, the beer that made Milwaukee famous. Can't believe it's all the way down to number 6. How about number 7? King of the beers? I don't think so. Straight up Budweiser. Straight up Budweiser is the number 7 best-selling beer in America. Then comes a beer that, I don't think I've had since I'm 16. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's just the favorite beer of 16-year-olds who only can scrape together $5 for a 12er. That would be Busch Light. Busch Light comes in at number 8. Number 9 is Natty Lights. Same thing for Busch Light. Natty Light. Let me tell you something about Natty Light, though. There's nothing wrong with Natty Light. Natty Light is another one of those beers that if it's ice cold and you're just kind of pounding them out of a cooler or something, you'd be fine with Natty Light. Busch beer products and the worst offender for me, Olympia products. I don't know if you guys know what Olympia, High Lemon Brewing Company. Olympia products and Busch products, they run through me like shit through a goose. And I've never seen shit run through a goose, but if it's fast and never ending, that's what it does. I can't drink Busch Light or Olympia. Stroh's too. That's another one. Stroh's, Busch Light, and Olympia. Oh my God, that's bad. Those are bad beers. All right, finally, the last one, the number 10 best-selling beer in America is another beer. This beer is all brand reputation. Maybe not so much anymore because we've gotten into being a beer culture that has looked beyond just simply Germany. But when I was a kid, if you had money and you were having a backyard party, right? And you're, everybody come on over, we're having a party. I would judge you based on the beer you had in the coolers. Like if you had Natty Light or something, I'd be like, okay, whatever. We're still going to have fun. But if you had Heineken bottles back in 1989, 1990, you were throwing a party and you had Heineken, cold Heineken, I would drink those because that seems sophisticated. It was terrible. I don't like Heineken. Heineken tastes terrible. It's a German beer. German beers suck. Ugh. But yeah, Heineken is number 10. Heineken Original. So once again, your top 10 beers. Number 1, Modelo. Number 2, Michelob Ultra. Number 3, Bud Light. Number 4, Coors Light. Number 5, Corona Extra. Number 6, Miller Light. Number 7, Budweiser. Number 8, Busch Light. Number 9, Natty Light. Number 10, Heineken. Those are your top selling beers in America this summer. And directly related to the boycott last summer of Bud Light. I bet you Bud Light is back this year, though, because they seem to have rebounded pretty well. What do we have? Okay, let's do this. I want to show you guys this. Dun, 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 bum, bum, top beers. Hold on. We talked about this movie the other day. I didn't even know it was a thing. I was blindsided by it. Hold on. Blindsided by it. It's coming out in September. I'm very excited as it's one of my favorite movies from my childhood growing up. The new trailer for Beetlejuice 2 is out. Beetlejuice 2, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, I just screwed it up. My dumb ass. Excuse me. Here we go. All right. Hold on. Let me share this with you. All right, here we go. Is it just me, or you guys love Beetlejuice too? Beetlejuice is a funny movie, man. Beetlejuice, that came at a period of time in Michael Keaton's career where it was just like, is he the most talented guy going? Michael Keaton was just hitting home runs with every movie that he did. I mean, he never had Eddie Murphy's Beverly Hills Cop type level success, but he came close. Mr. Mom, he was great in. He was so funny. Then what was the movie he did with Henry Winkler? The Ron Howard, Night Shift. That movie is so funny. He was such a great comedic actor. And when we saw him in Beetlejuice, I mean, that was like a Robin Williams role, right? We don't think of Michael Keaton as being like that kinetic and that sort of, just spontaneous with his physical comedy. But holy shit, was Beetlejuice an incredible performance. Objectively, you could give an Academy Award for the performance that he gave in the original Beetlejuice. The next time you see it, if you do happen to see it, maybe you got kids, you're looking for movies to revisit with them. That's one that I did with my kid when he was like 8 years old, and we freaking loved it. Beetlejuice was in the grouping of movies that included Spaceballs. we watched Spaceballs. Anyway, here, the new trailer is out for Beetlejuice Part 2, and they seem to have got, it's Tim Burton again. So, it's going to be beautiful to look at. And it's got all the people back, plus a couple of new ones. And when I say all the people back, I mean the important ones. You got your Winona Ryder, right? You got your Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. You got your Catherine O'Hara, right? Who else was in Beetlejuice? Was Alec Baldwin. I bet you that Alec Baldwin and Gina Davis are not in this one. But anyway, here we go. This is the trailer for Beetlejuice 2. I'm very excited.
Here's a preview. Be warned, it's intense.
Can't believe Grandpa's dead.
Death is hard.
Yeah, sometimes I think life is harder.
When I was a teenager, a trickster demon terrorized our entire family and tried to force me to marry him. I believed he was gone forever until you found this in the attic.
Ew. Who's Beetlejuice?
Don't ever say that name.
Beetlejuice.
No, Astrid! I am serious! If you say his name 3 times, he will appear.
Beetlejuice.
The juice is loose. I'm gonna make you so happy.
The living. The dead. Can they coexist? That's what we're here to find out.
Where's Beetlejuice?
Where's Beetlejuice?
Beetlejuice!
Feel free to express yourselves. Don't be afraid.
You're a figment of my imagination.
Really? Is this a figment of your imagination?
All right. I don't know. The trailer didn't blow me away. It's good to see, they cast the same. Yeah, maybe it's not. Maybe that's more interesting. What would have been more interesting? Creating a Beetlejuice 2 with all the characters 25, 30 years older? Or what if you just remade Beetlejuice? I know people don't like that. I don't like remaking Beetlejuice. Well, I would love to see a young comedic actor take on the role of Beetlejuice. I would like to see it recast with that's an interesting, I don't know. Yeah, I would. I'm not one of these people that necessarily hate remakes. I hate stupid remakes, but if you're going to cast it interestingly, and boy, that would be a vehicle for a young comedic. Could you imagine Donald Glover as Beetlejuice? I mean, how interesting would that be? I'm trying to think of somebody who's very kinetic and, he doesn't necessarily match that. I don't know. Anyway, Beetlejuice 2, it's coming in September. I'm going to definitely see it because Beetlejuice 1 meant so much to me. And isn't it, I'm trying to think, like, Like, I don't hate it, because when Beetlejuice was a smash global hit back in the late 80s, early 90s, not even sure when, but whenever it was, when it was a big smash global hit, they could have very easily, and if it had happened 10 years later, it would have been turned into a franchise. There would have been a Beetlejuice 2 within 3 years. There would have been a Beetlejuice 3 after that, and a 4 and a 5, and it would have gotten progressively more and more lame. That's what happens. But they didn't do that. Tim Burton was like, nah, it's a one-off. We did that. And then so like 30 years later, now they're making the second one. I think that's okay. I think maybe that's okay, because they didn't obviously go for the cash grab. And if they're remaking it now all these years later, it must be because they honestly have some sort of passion for it and they're interested in it, instead of just, all right, we got to do Beetlejuice 5, Beetlejuice Takes Manhattan. You know, they're not doing that. All right, that's pretty much gonna do it. What do I want to do? Oh, no. There are a couple other things. That's right. I'm sorry. You got to scale down. I got to scroll down a little bit more. So yesterday I said that I wanted to talk about The Bear. I don't know what you guys are going to be watching this weekend, but I've finished watching the latest season of The Bear on FX, a show that I love. I absolutely love everything about the show. I love the vibe of the show. Regardless of what I say about the show, because I'm going to get a little hypercritical here, regardless of what I say about the show, it's because it had so directly resonated with me the first couple of seasons. Like, I was just like, oh my God. Not only do I know these people, I was like, these people are in my family. It's like, these are things that I'm intimately familiar with, these attitudes and these types of relationships. It is a tremendously good show. Not only that, but Pete, who plays Sugar's husband, he is one of my favorite people. We've been following each other for a while on Twitter. He has a Twitter character that took Chicago by storm about 5 years ago called Chicago Party Ant. This is Pete. You know, Pete, the guy who they all make fun of. He seems like just the most wonderful person in the world, but they all, for some reason, just rank on him. And, you know, he's married to Sugar, and Sugar is, you know, they're very protective of him. That dude, Pete, he is one of the funniest Twitter people on Twitter. His character is a character named Chicago Party Ant. That actually became a Netflix animated series. But anyway, that's Pete. I root for that guy. I think that guy's going to be a big star. He is so funny. Anyway, I love The Bear. I love all those people. I love the actors, you know. But this season was not great. This season 3 of The Bear, was not great. Season 1 of The Bear, mind-blowing. Season 2, one of the best seasons of produced television ever. This season, that's a high bar. So when I say season 3 wasn't that great, it doesn't mean that it sucked. It doesn't mean that, you know, oh, no, I'm not watching anymore. No, but they had pre-announced The Bear would have 4 seasons, I believe, and the next season, the next series of episodes are going to be the conclusion to the story. I believe this is what Chris Storer said. Anyway, this season, because of that, this season 3, seemed to serve as nothing more than a way to give depth to the characters that we've seen in the first 2 series. So there was no real movement of the plot other than, you know, it's hard opening a restaurant. We're seeing that's sort of common. But all of the individual episodes seem to dwell on things that didn't really give a conclusion to the story that they had set up in seasons 1 and season 2. And again, this is, you know what this season felt like? In other series, in other years, this season seems like it would have just been webisodes. Like, if you wanted to know more about these people here, we've made some webisodes. Still, a very good, very deep, very emotionally wrought season of television. It was good, but it didn't live up, for me, to season 1 and season 2. I am very excited about season 4. Because I think that season 4 is going to really deliver because of what we had to watch. Well, it's not like it's not like it was terrible, but it was because of all the stuff that they did this season and season 3. I can see the connective tissue. I can see how they've now informed us all about this wide, incredibly talented group of ensemble actors and their characters. There were things that drove me nuts, though, and I understand that you know, this is just me being from Chicago. Like the one thing that my son and I were both like, that's not. Why did that happen? That shouldn't have happened. there was an episode where there's a woman who works in the kitchen. She's not one of the main people, but she's, second tier kitchen worker. She's an older, I think she's Hispanic, maybe black, maybe mixed race. I'm not sure. Nice character, but always in like a bad mood, kind of grumpy, has a heart of gold, has revealed herself to be, decent and loving to the people around her. But when you approach her, she's kind of gruff and kind of standoffish. There was an entire episode that talked about how she got to working there at the Bear, how she came to it. And it showed her home life, and it showed the job she did before and how she got laid off. And it was good. It was good standalone. Again, webisode. To me, it seemed like it should have been a webisode. But there was a scene in that episode that made me go nuts. And I was so mad. And when my son watched it, he said the exact same thing. He's like, that kind of took me out of the moment. There was a scene where this woman, this character, who has lived her entire life in Chicago, has to be explained what a beef sandwich is. And I just thought, that is so not that. You're telling me she wouldn't know what she lived. Where did she live that she had never been exposed to? There's a beef sandwich shop on every corner in every neighborhood of Chicago. Doesn't matter if you come from the ghetto. Doesn't matter if you come from the wealthiest suburbs. There is a beef sandwich everywhere. Everyone in Chicago has had a beef sandwich a week since they were born. But I understood why they did it. They did it because the greater audience viewing doesn't necessarily have this understanding. So let them explain what a beef sandwich is and how it tastes through the eyes of this woman. It didn't make sense, though. It didn't make sense because it's like, what do you mean she doesn't know what a beef sandwich is? It would be like if, you did a show set in Dallas and like you had to explain who the Cowboys were to somebody who lived here their whole life. Yeah, we work for the Cowboys. You know what they are? They're a professional football team. They were, see it. So it just kind of took me out of it. That's a very minor thing. Other than that, third season is great. I'm not saying don't watch the third season. I'm just saying for somebody like me who wanted to see the conclusion to the story, this felt like a big, hold on, time out. We'll get to the rest of we'll get to the story, but that's going to have to wait till season 4. There you go. That's my review of The Bear. I still think too, by the way, I still think that cousin Richie, that Ebon Moss Cohen or whatever it is, I don't know. It's very, very ethnically Jewish name, and I struggle with it because I'm unfamiliar with. I think that dude's going to be a major film star. I just every time that dude's on screen, I'm like, that guy has it. That guy should have been playing a completely forgettable character, a character that didn't. Instead, he has become, I think, the character that most people watch and root for. He's the one that we can see ourselves in. He's just terrific. Cousin Richie. They're all terrific. They're all terrific. It's just an incredible cast of unknowns and all of that good stuff. Oh, my son. Hold on. My son just texted me. Here I am thinking, oh, we got a tip today, but I don't think that happened. Oh, let's see. Let's see what my kid says. Kid says, what's the time? What are we thinking? Okay. Okay. I'll tell him. And there we go. I told him after 6 because I got stuff to do. I got a full day. I got a day here. I got to do stuff here. And then, traffic getting up north. We'll see how he responds to that. What do you mean? Why can't you just come now? It'll be that kind of thing. I'm bored. Which means I want Taco Bell because that's part of our thing. When I pick him up, we go to Taco Bell. He likes Taco Bell. And it's almost like he doesn't get it, like because his mom's super healthy and she's like super healthy and super smart and, really good about all that kind of stuff. And I think that's why he's like, but what Taco Bell? That's what he wants. So that's what's dinner for him tonight. One more thing that I wanted to show you today. Oh, what's he saying? No, that wasn't him. Hold on. Oh boy. Okay, hold on. That was actually a really good. That was a really good text that I just got. It was a piece of news unrelated to this, but it was still good, and it wasn't my son. All right, here, I want to show you guys one more thing before we get out of here for the day, because I stumbled across this. YouTube, this is why I always say, if I'm on a desert island and they're like, you can only have one platform, I am going YouTube. Just give me basic YouTube with the pop-ups and the skippable ads and all that. I don't need YouTube Plus. Just give me YouTube. Why? Because there is always something you can find on YouTube. It is the greatest collection of bullshit, time-wasting content the world has ever known. It is the Smithsonian of viral nonsense. So I found this thing last night. I want to show you this. This is not apropos of anything happening in today's world, but I found this last night and I was obsessed with it. And I started watching because it is so different. It takes us back to hold on, let me see when this is. This is, all right, here's what you're going to watch. We're going to watch and I want to show you how strange this thing was. All right, here we go. Hold on, I'm going to pull this up and then we'll watch it and I'll explain it to you. We're going to, I think it's 1965. It's December 31st, 1965. New Year's Eve, 1965, heading into 1966. I found this last night. This is an episode of The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson on New Year's Eve, 1965. Now, Johnny Carson at this point, this is when Johnny was a drunk. This is when Johnny was, they had trouble. They moved him out to LA to get him away from all the people that he was doing. The only reason Ed McMahon is on The Tonight Show is because NBC needed somebody to be able to, stop Johnny from getting into drunken bar brawls because Johnny had a drinking problem. Okay, so this is New Year's Eve, The Tonight Show. It's live TV. They're still in New York. So I want to watch. I'm going to let it unfold, okay? And then I'll stop it and I'll tell you what's going on. Because this is unheard of. I know it's live TV and I know it was a different time, but the rank lack of professionalism and the lack of preparedness that is going on here. So here's what's happening. The Tonight Show is starting. It's going out coast to coast on New Year's Eve, massive audience, and Johnny isn't there. Johnny didn't show up. The show was 90 minutes back in the day. Johnny didn't show up until like 40 minutes into the show. And then he just shows up on New Year's Eve. He's like, oh, hey. And they start the show again. It's crazy. I want to watch a little bit of this with you because it's so fun. Here you go. Once again, this is the Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, December 31st, 1965. It is New Year's Eve.
On NBC.
Live from New York, The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson. Johnny's guests tonight are Woody Allen, William Walker, Gila Golan, Criswell, The Muppets, and live visits to Times Square welcoming in the New Year. Skip Henderson with the NBC Orchestra and me. I'm Ed McMahon.
All right, first problem, notice here's Johnny, because apparently Johnny ain't there. So now they're on live TV, coast to coast, and Ed McMahon has got to fill time now. And so he's going to hang out with the band leader and try and explain what's happening.
You know what is worth your life to get into this building?
Yeah, it's very difficult.
I was outside briefly. Am I right, friends? I think they're not hostile, but they're a little sore about downstairs. I don't know what it is. I tried to get in the door, and I was barred. I walked on the other side, and it's tough when you've been here, 3.5 years. You walk in, and the guard says, "Who are you?" Yeah. I mean, it gives you a funny feeling, really. But so I know how you feel, friends, and we're sorry that you were detained downstairs. But there was some problem in the building. They could not allow the doors to just be open as they normally would for some vandals or something. I don't know. So we'd like to apologize for that.
Vandals? What do you mean, Ed? What are you talking about? There's a story there. You need to be... Now, Ed is going to do... He's panicking because he's on live TV and he's got absolutely nothing prepared. Johnny's supposed to be there. So he's going to now do like some bar trick. Like it's going to just bomb horribly. Watch this. Trying to fill time. This is what I mean. The lack of professionalism, the lack of preparedness.
And I didn't get a chance to see you. Yeah. And I don't mean to interrupt, but all day I've been trying to see you. I have a bit of a problem. I have some guests in town tonight.
Yeah.
And I wonder if could you handle a small check for me?
No. A what?
Just a small check.
Money?
Just a little small check.
I didn't get any cash.
It's a little tiny, little small check.
Get out of here.
Have you seen this?
Oh, that's his joke. His joke is like he's borrowing money. Can you handle a small check? Oh, this is bad. Ed, you've got nothing.
It's a real check. Look at this. They claim you can write a check on anything, the back of a menu or anything, as long as you put the bank in your name. And there's a check. I'd like to make that out for about 3 cents. Would you handle it?
Beautiful. I can just about handle that.
In cash?
Okay, I mean, just bombing on live TV with nothing. No material, nothing to go, because Johnny is probably drunk.
Okay. What you started to say about last year?
Well, remember last year when we finished work here, last New Year's Eve? Remember we couldn't get out of the building?
They are literally just small talking now about whatever. They're just killing time coast to coast, national TV. All right, so
Do you remember that?
we're gonna fast forward a little bit.
Are the sharks in the water?
So how do they fill time? Here's how they fill time. Johnny's not here. They can't bring out the guests. So why not just play some bad band music on TV while we wait for Johnny to either sober up or be found? That is lame. TV was so lame. All right, here's what we're going to do. Let's get to where Johnny shows up. All right, hold on. We'll go. So they did that for about 20 minutes, and then they went to a break. And in the break, Ed McMahon said, "Oh, and when we come back, Johnny will be here. Johnny will be here when we come back." So here we are. We're in the break.
Come on over, you'll be glad you did. Come on over to the L&M side.
Cigarette commercial.
Here's Johnny.
All right, so here we go. Now remember, the show has been on now for 17 minutes. It's been the Tonight Show is 17 minutes in. We already did the opening. They already did the ba-na-na-na, or whatever that is. So here they go. They go to a commercial. Johnny has finally showed up, and they're just going to start the show again. Like all of that never happened.
Just for the taste of it.
And now, here's Johnny.
He's probably banging a cocktail waitress. Oh, you guys don't know the stories about Johnny Carson. There is a tremendous audiobook on YouTube that I listened to about Johnny Carson's life, as told by people who knew him and people who worked for him. This dude, he was a rascal. I'll put it that way.
And may the bird of paradise lay an egg in your old lang syne. All together now, ready? Real quick. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers.
He's got nothing. That's nuts. Anyway, I watched that entire show last night. It was an hour and a half. The Muppets were on it. The dude didn't show up for 20 minutes, his own show, and they just had to fill. That is outrageous to me. All right, folks, that's going to be it. Wait, HBD, but sorry, the I got canceled. It's time to get ill. Happy birthday again, Pugs. Enjoy The Godfather. Thank you, Peter. What is that? What HBD? What is that? What is that? What is it? I'm sorry, Adam. What does HBD mean? HBD. So, oh, and by the way, Adam, I saw what you said. Yeah, I don't know if Heineken is German. It's from somewhere over there. I don't make a distinction. It's like a weird. It's like a weird. I think you said Amsterdam or Belgium, maybe. Maybe that's it. I don't know. And that's all German to me. It's all German to me. But you were right. You were right in correcting me there. All right. That's it. I think that's going to be it. I love you guys. We'll see you on Monday. Okay, we'll be back with an all-new. We did it from the bar today. I don't think we'll do it from the bar again. And it's not really comfortable. It's not terrible. And we got to decorate the bar more so you can see more. And I got to do something different with the camera so you can actually see the bar. You can't see the bar. It's a cool-looking bar. We are the Radio Misfits Dallas. We do this show every Monday through Friday here from the E-Gallery in the beautiful Dallas Design District. Support the show if you can, please. Help us out there with a little bit of a tip. Treat me like I'm your bartender. Why not? I'm at a bar today. Treat me like I'm your pizza delivery guy, your Uber driver, whatever. That's how this show runs, with your gratuity. So thank you so much. Thank you for, happy birthday. Oh, that's what it means, HBD. See, I'm not even thinking that way. You guys are all so wonderful. I appreciate you. You guys have a great weekend. I'll have a great weekend. If Biden drops out, I'll do a live show. I promise. Biden drops out, I'm going to get on because we got some stuff to chop up on that one. We'll see. Hopefully. Or I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see. All right. I love you guys. We'll be back. Thank you for all the birthday wishes. Tip the show if you can. And you guys have a great weekend. Bye.